McLaren fears Max Verstappen, and rightly so. McLaren didn't clinch the constructors title in Azerbaijan this weekend at the Baku Grand Prix, and even the drivers title is in doubt after another very dominant win by Max Verstappen. Just when Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris and the McLaren F1 team needed it the most, an incredible amount of errors were made by all of them. You just can't do that when Max Emelian Verstappen is chasing you. This is why everyone at McLaren is shitting themselves, because Mad Max is coming for them. The Constructors title is pretty much in the bag after Rob Marshall managed to create this beast of a car called the MCL39. In fact, it was meant to happen this weekend. They only needed to outscore Ferrari by 9 points, I believe. Well, it didn't happen. I'm sure it'll happen in Singapore, but it still looked pretty poor. For a long time this season, we thought Piastri and Norris would secure easy 1-2 finishes, and then the driver who bottles the least, Oscar, would win the title with 6 races to spare, right? However, McLaren and their drivers began making significant mistakes after the summer break. Lando Norris DNF'd in Zandvoort due to a mistake in assembling the car properly by the mechanics. In Monza, both McLaren drivers stayed out on old tyres hoping for a late safety car. This didn't happen, and then Norris opted to give Piastri the first pit stop even if he was behind him. When Norris finally pitted, the pit stop was botched and he was behind Piastri. McLaren made the cringe decision to swap the drivers, which Piastri went along with. Ew, a very bad look. But it gets worse, because in Baku, where there was a series of fuck-ups by Oscar Piastri, who crashed twice, and Lando Norris, who was just pretty mid, and received another slow pit stop on top of that. This time, they couldn't ask another driver to swap positions with, so he finished P7, while he had the opportunity to pounce on Piastri. It's like neither of them are ready to win the championship. Maybe all this talk about not having papaya rules and being free to race until they get close to each other and then they get team orders is messing with their confidence, because they both look out of shape. I suppose it's just distracting when you have good results and you're leading the championships and you still get mauled by the media because you're not doing it the way they want you to do it. It definitely affected them during qualifying. Oscar Piastri crashed in the qualifying session on Saturday with a record-breaking 6 red flags. He caused the 6th one in Q3, so he had to start the race in P9. Lando Norris had the opportunity to get a really good track position with his title rival out of the way, so his team sent him out really early out of fear that there would be another crash and no time would be set. And he managed P7. Ah, for fuck's sake. What the hell are you doing, buddy? If you can't set a time, you're still right in front of Piastri. That's why Max Verstappen went late and set an amazing pole time. Anyway, Norris was only 2 grid places in front of Piastri, and then we had the race on Sunday. Lando Norris immediately lost a place to Leclerc, who started in P10. This is something we're used to seeing from Norris, so we weren't that surprised by that. We were surprised when we saw Oscar Piastri in P20. What the hell happened there? Well, Piastri jumped to start. His car went into anti-stall at the moment the lights went off, so he was passed by everyone behind him. To make matters worse, he tried to overtake 3 of them in the following turn, locked up and went into the barriers again. Second time this weekend. 3 major blunders for Oscar. Not like him at all. Anywho, a great opportunity for Norris to gain a load of points. To do this, the McLaren team had a brilliant strategy. Start on mediums, do nothing and go long. Norris usually gets the safety car to pit under, right? Well, not this time. He was stuck there until they at least saw an opportunity to jump Leclerc, who pitted early. If the pit stop was fast, which it wasn't. It was 4 seconds, so he pitted behind Leclerc, who had taken the most out of his tyres by pitting early, so Norris did get him eventually. But Tsunoda, Lawson, Antonelli, Sainz and Russell all finished before Norris did. Now, I remember plenty of races where Verstappen started out of position, and everyone thought it was pretty normal to see him in the top 5 after a few laps. With 2 title candidates like Piastri and Norris, you start appreciating the champions from before even more. Vettel was a beast at Red Bull. Rosberg gave his mental health to win 1 title. Hamilton was cutthroat to get what he wanted, and Max Verstappen was diabolical when it came to winning. He'd sell his grandmother to get another title. Okay, that was a bit of a hyperbole because his sweet nan was there. Okay, where were we? Yes, Lando Norris gaining 6 measly points on Piastri. He should have at least finished on the podium with that car, in my humble opinion. But I'm glad he didn't, because it will make the next 7 race weekends a lot more exciting. Max Verstappen can taste blood, and McLaren should fear him. There's a visible shift in momentum with Oracle Red Bull Racing and their star driver Max Verstappen. I talked about this in a previous video and on my Saturday night livestream. It's a fact that Red Bull feels completely different after the dismissal of Christian Horner. Now, I know the path to the upgrades that made the RB21 a better car was set a long time before Laurent Mekies took over. But there's a completely different, more positive vibe surrounding the Milton Keynes team. I know Max Verstappen is happier. That's a big plus. And the results are back. From what I gathered in interviews, it's mainly how they approach race weekends now, where they attack the Friday practice sessions straight away, and they do a lot of sim work before the weekend. And apparently, Laurent Mekies, with his technical background, is asking the engineers better, more direct and informed questions. They are not shooting left and right with setups anymore, according to Max Verstappen. It's funny, but what happened after the summer break is what I hoped would happen after 8 races into the 2025 season. Remember when TD018 was introduced and it would reset the whole grid? Well, I believed it would happen, because, well, I'm a little naive that way. But alas, it didn't happen, and McLaren stayed the dominant team. This has changed now, and Max Verstappen has brought his championship deficit to Norris down to 45 points and to Piastri to 69 points. We still have 7 races, so Max Verstappen needs to outscore Norris by 7 points each weekend and Piastri by 9 points each weekend. Now, keep in mind, we still have 3 sprint weekends too. Not a lot can be gained in those weekends, but a lot can be lost. One little incident at the start of a sprint and you score nothing. Whereas Verstappen might win and gain 8 points. In races where Verstappen wins and Norris is P2 and Piastri is P3, Verstappen gains exactly the number of points he needs to. That is, if McLaren, Piastri and Norris don't make any mistakes. Like, we know Red Bull can handle the pressure. They showed that over the years, and especially in 2021. Hannah Smith at the strategy team is nearly perfect every weekend. And so is Max's execution of the given strategy. Imagine what happens if Verstappen gains another 25 points or so in the next 2 races. The pressure will be immense for the McLaren drivers and the team, whereas Red Bull and Verstappen can chase them at will, as they have nothing to lose. Sometimes it's better to be the chaser than to be chased. I think it'll go down to the wire, and we'll get another Abu Dhabi special. I didn't enjoy the last time, except for the last lap. Andrea Stella, team principal of the McLaren F1 team, is feeling the heat because of what he said. I keep saying that Red Bull are a real threat to the championship. They have scored pole position and victories over the last 2 events. I said it yesterday and I can confirm it even more today. It's a 3-headed fight for the Drivers' Championship. So he isn't sure about it. The thing is that we were never unsure about things when Verstappen was that many points ahead. Now were we? And still, now with only 7 races to go and a 69-point lead, doubt is growing in the minds of the McLaren people and hope is growing in the minds of the Red Bull people. Laurent Mekies was asked if Max was back in for the title, and he laughed and said, "We take it 1 race at a time." And that's just what we're going to do. I had a bit of a moan earlier this F1 season about it being underwhelming, after it was hyped up to be one of the closest title fights ever. But with Max Verstappen getting closer and closer to contention, the excitement is ramping up. Max Verstappen is destroying all existing statistics. As in the last years, no world champion has set pole in Baku, and then I believe no pole sitter has ever won in Azerbaijan. But he killed both these stats. I believe Max Verstappen can do a lot more, and that's why McLaren are scared as hell. And they should be. Don't be scared to subscribe to my YouTube channel. My community is filled with fun people and I'd love it if you joined. Take care now. Doei doei.